Good morning and welcome to Dixie Quilters. Here we go. I want to get some sewing done real quick before we get going on our chores and errands today. And let's see, I'm working on Designer Mystery Block 9. I just love those colors. Anyway, so let's get started. We'll just do a little sew along. It shouldn't take us very long. We'll get this block done and ironed and pressed and on the wall. And we have a spot picked out for it right there. Okay, so we're going to take D and G and C. Here we are. So C, D, G. Ta-da! Okay. These are so good. You know, I used paper and clamps and markers and you name it, I use them. But those alpha clippies for a job like this where I'm going to cut it out this morning, do it today, is great. But like when I was cutting out the whole apple cider a year in advance, of course I don't want to use my alpha clippies on that. That'd tie those up for all year long. So anyway, so here we are. We're going to assemble these little pieces. Let's see if I can point this down a little further. Okay, good. So we're going to assemble this guy with this one, making sure that it's the correct direction. Yes, here we go. And yes, I could press them first, but I'm not gonna. So what I'm gonna do is they're gonna look like that. The two little ones go together, and then they connect to the little bit bigger one. So I'm gonna stack them up in stacks in how they go. Is that upside right or upside wrong? No, it's upside right. I don't know if I ever like those embossed fabrics because you have to really fight to get them to go in the right direction. But they are pretty, I have to admit that. All right, so we'll just go ahead and get them sewn together real quick here. And get to listen to my sewing machine that sounds like a old-fashioned combine in my memory. I'm thinking that my machine could stand a visit to the spa, but I haven't taken it in before. I've just been cleaning it myself, but perhaps there's something more to it than I need to be aware of. So I'm thinking about, I'm going to get my hair done today, and then I think I might call and make an appointment with the sewing machine spa. Well, so instead of using the iron, which I have to get up and go and turn on and get ready and blah, 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 I think I'll just use the little roller. Keep from knocking stuff over here. A little roller. And our little Gypsy Quilter cutter. Bingo, bango, bingo. Now it says to iron them to the dark side like normal. Press to the dark. Can you see what I'm doing? Well, I can do it up here. I have never gotten well, I did for a while there have a small iron next to me, but I set it on its little iron trivet on top of my cutting mat and destroyed my cutting mat. So even with the trivet, it did that. So I've been using an oversized ironing board. I ordered a special giant one. I love it. But it also forces me to get up. Let's look at the bright side, right? And I don't usually have problems with my sewing machine balling up when we start. Isn't that nice? I've been very happy with this, not the most economy brother, but it's a pretty economy brother. Goes on this side. Is that the right length? Exactly. That's a little bit shy. I think I'm gonna sew it again. Just a couple of threads, and now it'll fit this better. I know it will. Making sure that we're looking at the correct side again. You go like so. Now, if one side is longer, always put that on the bottom, and then the feed dogs will suck it up a little for you. There. Okay, and then this one is, there we go. Yes, that's correct. Man, it's hard to tell sometimes. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Lisa. How you doing this morning? Hi, Liz. How are you? Hi, So Blessed by Jess. Hi, Jess. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Lynn Co. Thinking about people that I know. Please forgive me if I haven't immediately thought of your name. I apologize. This is pretty early. Let's see. Might be about 5-ish. Okay, so we have 4 of those guys. Now we're going to make a horizontal unit, B and F. And apparently it's, you know, just line them up and sew them. So, and we're going to make 4 of them, making sure that we have the embossed side up, connected in there. And we want to keep it going here. I was watching stuff on YouTube, and it's just AI is beginning to take on more and more weird stuff. You watch it, you're drawn to it, you know, whatever it is, and you watch it, and pretty much your brain says, this is not possible. Click. You have to really be on guard on what we believe. I have a tendency to think that all news is baloney, but, you know, I'm just becoming jaded, I guess. There, that's the right side. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and turn the iron on and get some ironing done. Be right back. Yummy. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine. La la. I like that old song. When was that? When we were young? Long time ago. Okay, now let's see here. We're going to take these combos and we're going to draw the line on the back side of number A. Where's a line drawer? Erasable friction. I don't know, does that go away? I'd rather use the disappearing ones. And we're going to draw a line from corner to corner. See if it still works. Oh, it does. Great. Is it, I beg your pardon, I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine? Something, I don't know any more of it. I'll have to Google it. Googly oogly. It's that time of year for my sniffles to really go to town. Boy, the people have been having some really severe flu around here. Then my good buddy, she was not feeling good, but she had to keep feeding her fire in her wood box to keep her house warm, and she dropped her telephone in the top of the wood stove. Is that enough to give anybody a heart attack? I mean, really. We do everything on our phones anymore, and here your phone's down there in the wood box in those white hot fire, cremating in front of your face. Oh my goodness. Poor girl. She has to get a new one, get it all programmed, blah, blah, blah. The worst part is I can't call her. I think she was able to use her computer to text me. I think that's what we were doing. But she should have a phone this afternoon, so that's good. All right, so what we're going to do is do these corners on the backs of the doubles. So let's lay those down and get those off of here. Now here's our big, we need, make 4 of those. So we need 8 of these with a line drawn on the backs of them. So you take the 2 long skinnies, A and F, is it? Nope, B and F. Here's A, put it face down with the corner to corner. What we're doing is making a big flying goose, I think. And since they're so big and a little wiggly, I'm going to pin them. And when you're pinning them, it's a good idea to pin across this where the sewing line's going to be, because otherwise you'll have to move the pin in order to sew it. Well, you got to move it anyway, but I mean, I prefer to not have them run parallel with my line of stitching. I like them to be at a 90 degree. I have just found that I can see them better. I can get them out of the way better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin them all in place. I'm going to do all 4 like this, and then we'll come back and do all 4 on the other side after we've sewn the first one and pressed them down to get them into position correctly. Yes, some people can do them both at the same time, but I find it to be awkward because once we sew this one and fold it back and trim it, then we have a nice clean edge where they intersect. So I suggest doing 1 half at a time, even if it is a little bit slower. That is not straight. Yes, if I pressed it, it would lay down a little better, but yesterday I went to Costco to get my eye exam. And while the appointment's at 10 o'clock sharp. Haven't been there since 23, I think. So they have new papers and new computers, of course. So they say get there a little early. That's standard, right? And I get to the door, and this big athletic-looking fella, you know, coach kind of material, is standing there, and he says, well, it's not 10 o'clock yet, and you're not an elite purchaser, so you have to wait. So I worked him on, well, what if I want to upgrade, or what if I want to do this? And finally he took me over to somebody else, but he wouldn't let me in the door. So somebody else took over, and I said, you know, I need to be there for my appointment, and my doctor has requested, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, go ahead. So it's all a matter of who to talk to, right? We know this. Anybody who's been a mother and tried to get kids through the different things and sports and we all know we got to know how to be persistent. We're not being rude. We're lying. No, we're just being persistent. Let's see. Layer fabric A on top of the horizontal unit. Stitch on the drawn line. Okay, we're just going to stitch on the line. That's easy. Here we go. Ooh, that worked out great. Next. So then I got my eyes. I'm so cheap, I didn't even use the latest thing with I allowed them to dilate my eyes instead of doing that other machine. And you know, I go crazy on some of these fabric sales. Well, I only go crazy on Lynn's soft square sales. I don't really go crazy anywhere else. But I want to save $40 on an eye exam thing that makes me dilated and hard to see stuff for a couple of hours. And And I'm thinking, what am I going to spend that $40 on? Fabric? I think this is somewhat of an obsession. You know, these stickers that say, this started out as an innocent hobby. That's true. No wonder people think that's funny. Okay, now we have those 4 on. We'll just cut them in half, or, you know, just separate them. We're not cutting them in half, goodness. Okay, now I'll come back. I'm going to go press these little puppies, and then we'll trim them to precise. Okay, so now I've pressed them, and I have learned that I do not cut off this part first. I press them first, because that helps you determine where the corner ought to be. And these, you can see are a little bigger. So even though I drove along exactly on that line, well, almost pretty darn exactly, they're still not perfect. So these are going to need to be trimmed to fit. You know, you need to... I resisted doing that for the first years of my sewing experience until I finally determined that I had to do that. Some people are so obstinate, and boy, do I understand them. Let's see. I want to trim them, and I like to trim using my ruler. This is my favorite ruler of all. It's long enough to do a full length of fabric folded over. And so I only have to use my big giant ruler when I'm doing 108s or, well, big giant things, you know. So I use this, I'd say 90% of the time. I have a little 1/4 ruler for using with foundation. I have to stop and think, am I doing this right? I don't want to cut this wrong while I'm on camera. But here, I cut it like that. And now that's going to lay there. I'm going to wait until I get the other ears on and then use the flying geese ruler that I have in my ruler collection. What size is it going to be? 3.5 by 6.5. You know, the Flying Geese Square Up Ruler from Creative Notions is the only one that I have 3 of them, that actually has more sizes than any of the others. 3.5 by 6.5 is on this. Isn't that pretty? It has all those colors. So call up Creative Notions and order one of these. They are, you know, because we've gotten all these wonderful ones from Creative Grids. Big, beautiful things, shiny, lots of non-gripper things on them and stuff. But does this have a 3.5 by 6.5? No. So does that mean they sell you another one that handles the half sizes? So they're you know, it just doesn't. Yep, they do a 3 by 6 and a 3.5 by 7, but they do not cut a 3.5 by 6.5. So just a thought, give Creative Notions a call and get one of those. I don't even know how much they are. I think I got it in a, I might have received it in a Creative Notions box a couple of years ago, or I might have bought it outright. I don't remember. But it's the most, I use it most. These two. And then some of my little squares. All right, then we're going to put this aside until I get them all prepared. And we're going to shape up, we did this one, and we're going to shape up these guys. Meaning we're going to cut off that extra flapper back there. Now, Liz, do you even keep these kind of things? I know you keep everything. I bet you keep those, because I have not really gotten into making all those unusual little shapes like pre-cuts. But my bins of extras are rapidly approaching out of control status. I think I have 2 drawers, a big tote. Oh, and another tote up there. They're all full of little cast-offs. Well, we'll work on them. Okay, so I think that I'm going to take just a moment and iron these to make them flat. Oh, maybe that'll make the purple lines go away. I think we'll go ahead and use them as is. Okay, lining that up just correctly. You know, I think I better line it. I better trim it to fit first, because these are not fitting. Let's give it a try here. What are we measuring here? I haven't done this before, but it's not working too good. It's going to be 3.5 by 6.5, which is the lavender lines. I see where it's off. It's right on the money, except for at this end here. Now, let's see if that'll work better. Oh, much better. Okay, well, then we just needed to, it was just a tiny bit too big. One ready? Let's see how that one shapes up. Can you see that at all? Let's turn you. See, we're gonna put the half done goose there. We're gonna line up the 3.5 by 6.5 point that corresponds with the color 3.5 by 6.5 purple line. So we're gonna line up the purple line in the corner. And see, that's just right there in the correct size, except for right up in here. So we're going to take that off. Okay, 2 down. Let's check this one too. And it goes to show that even if you are cutting real... What's the matter with that one? That's huge. 3.5 by 6.5. How can that be that big? How about this one? Is that big too? Yes. Why are these the right size then? Perfect. And the center point is on 1 3/4 by 3. So let's see if that's part of the deal here. Yeah, that matches up. So it's this over here. Well, I'll be doggone. No wonder they didn't want to come out perfect. That squaring up thing is incredibly important. I think I need a new blade. Okay, so that one's good. I guess it goes to show you that, you know, you can measure, you can cut, but if it's not right, you better fix it. Let's double check it again now that we did some trimming. 3.5 by 6.5. That looks good. And then this guy here. I can tell he's too big just by looking at him. I really don't know how he got too big. Must be the seam or the measuring to begin with. But all I know is it's a good thing I double checked it before I put these extra ears on, because then they'd be all messed up too. Okay, let's sew those on. Let's press them real quick and I'll be right back. We're making some headway. I'm glad we've taken a few moments to look at these things. Okay, so now I'm going to, I've just pressed them down and I see they're going to be a little big, so we're going to need to not only take off this extra corner here, leaving just a 1/4 lovely selvage, and then we're going to fold it back where it belongs and then reshape it again using this guy. Okay, so now we're gonna, maybe I'll keep those corners. There's quite a bit of fabric there, and I guess you could make something out of triangles. We'll see. Now we're gonna use the flying goose again. 3.5 by 6.5. And the little corner meets perfectly up here, which just leaves a sliver, that's all. Three and a half by 6.5. Point matches right there. It's a little bit long on this side. Boy, that was a nice one. Very little repair. Perfection. Assisted perfection, right? Were you on the live sale last night at Soft Squares? Woo, boy, if you like patriotic, that was the time to go buy it. Ay, ay, ay. And I do already have a patriotic kit, so I didn't buy patriotic, but I bought some other stuff. Oh, man, it was beautiful. Now I got to remember what it was I bought. I bought a kit for a patriotic wall hanging or lap robe, and it was a panel with all the edges and pieces, and it was a Lori Holt, I think, maybe. But it was really beautiful, beautiful. And I figured since it's a panel, I could get that put together before July, don't you think? I might even finish it. And then I've got that other flimsy from December's box that's a 4th of Julyer. So I'll have 2 4th of July nice things to decorate the house with. You know, I have not made stuff like this in the past. I have red, white, and blue stars and triangles, but I don't have anything specifically patriotic. So that'll be nice. Be nice. All right, so our next step is, now that we have geese, and they are, I might say, perfectly perfect, now we're going to put on some more triangles. All right, so we're going to make them into another type of flying gooser using the red, orange. And so we are going to draw a line on the back of them as well. This is fabric H. So again, we're using the diagonal line process. Where did I put that? Well, we use this one. Here, this one's available. This one's a air erasing. Do the friction pens air erase? How do they erase anyway? Now see, that's really nice. Who makes that one? So Line. I like it. Okay. Okay, so those are marked. Keep my favorite tools under here. My forceps to catch the thread when it's stuck in there, when I want to rethread. And my snippers that are really good, and they say, Wusthoff. Don't know what that means, but man, are they good. W-U-S-T, A-F or O-F? O-F. W-U-S-T-H-O-F, as in Frank. And the U has the oolong dots on top of it, meaning maybe Germanic language pronunciation on the U. I don't know what it makes it sound like, but I know that that's not English. Okay, so we got this guy on here. We're going to put it in position like so. Well, let's put it on this side. You know, I just got to hold the corners down and then put it in place. And the more square and perfect this is to size, of course, the better this will fit it. And we're going to do the green up and the corners like so. You know, so you see that okay? So this will be the way you look at it. Green up and the sewing line parallel to the stitch line of the other way side. You know, sewing line, stitch line. Oh, to-do. Line that up again. Okay, here we are. So let's get that sewn together, and then we'll reshape, remeasure, and go from there. Boy, that's a beautiful color, peach. I've always liked peaches and oranges. In fact, when I was a teenager, or probably 12-ish, I don't know how old I was, I wanted an orange bedroom. And my mother and dad, they did not want to paint their bedrooms orange. So they compromised and gave me a brilliant orange rug and bedding. That was a good idea, I think. And I always wanted to have a competition orange fastback Mustang, about a 67. You remember those? They're so ugly now. Okay, iron them first, then cut. Okay. I think the closest I got to a competition orange fastback Mustang was when I was, let's see, I must have been almost graduating from college because I was beginning to earn some money as a student nurse. And I bought a orange Mazda 2-door car, tiny little thing. And it had stick. It was a stick. So you could do donuts with it. That was fun. Okay, so let's get these sized up. We'll trim them and then size them. Okay, trim, size, trim, size. Stay on track here, Marlene. What was your favorite car when you were about 12? What sounded like, what did you really thought about having someday? And even if I had all the money in the world, I don't think I'd want an orange fastback Mustang. Might take a Charger or some other big muscle car for the, oh, remember when my son was getting married, the neighbor man let me drive, well, he let me move his 56 Chevy with a big V8. And he let me drive it from his driveway over to my driveway, about 50 feet. And he was thinking about letting me drive it up to the wedding, which is an hour away. And then he decided he better come drive it himself. So, and in hindsight, I think that was a good idea. Because I might have been a Thelma and Louise thing with my friend who was going to go with me. Two old ladies driving that hot car. Oh, boy. I think he made a wise decision. Ooh, that looks good. That fits good. Okay, so this one looks good. 3.5 by 6.5. That one's a little bit long. Okay. Let's move that up a little bit. I think it's not the white end because we've already shaped this end. So now we're going to, here, let's get over here and look at this. We've already shaped the white end. So we think that it's not that end. So it's going to need to be the orange end that's off kilter here. Okay. Okay. That one's done. Now let's try this one. Ooh, very close, very close. It's a little bit off at the top, not on the end this time. You can see how you need to really look in closely at this every time you're doing it. Now, those of you who are really precise, perhaps you don't have to do this. But I'm just pretty close, and so I do. Let's look at that one more time. A little bit off the end here. Oh, the weather outside is dreary. Actually, we might have had some snow yesterday, but it ended up being hail. I think we're going to have some snow before spring. But in Oregon, you might have snow in April, but rain the whole rest of the year, you know? It's weird. You cannot plant until after Mother's Day, ever. At least that's my experience. I think the almanac will tell you almost that. See, I'm using the same 4 pins over and over. Oh, wrong way. See that? I'm trying to put it on in a diagonal line. Wrong. It's got to be in a flying goose line so that the line goes this way. Can you see that? There you go. I had it on going this way. I gotta watch myself because, you know, even if I'm scrutinizing it, but if I'm talking to you guys, ooh, anything could happen. All right, let's see. We'll get the pin in that one. Ready to sew those? Let's drive you over here so you can see what's going on here. Then we're going to need to check the time as soon as we get these done. Okay. Whoops. All right, let's see here. We're going to take and separate them. Iron them. Be right back. Okay, so let's take a look at those. First we'll trim, then we'll shape. A lot of steps to this that are not really listed in the book, you know? Well, not that. Wrong one. This one. I'm going to use that 1/4 mark on the side of this ruler. And this one is a Creative Grids ruler, and its shape is, just a second. Well, it looks like 12.5 by 2.5. See that okay? Maybe get up here where you can see a little better. And we're going to put the cutting right 1/4 on the edge there. That nice grayed out area, that's what I'm going to use as my cutting line. You gotta admit, Creative Grids does a lovely job on those non-skid spots and graying out the 1/4. I really like that. All right, so now we're going to shape them to see if they are too big or too small or what. Predominantly, mine are always too big, which I guess is at least correctable, right? So if we put the 3.5 by 6.5, oh, that's right on the money. How'd that happen? Okay, let's do this one. Now that one is a little big on this end. So if we line that up and line the center up, then we need to cut this and this. Okay, wait a minute, did I cut that? I thought that was supposed to be a cut. No, it didn't get cut. That's all perfect. That's perfect. This is not perfect. Now we're happy. 3.5 by 6.5. Just a tiny bit on this corner. is right in the center. There's a marking that needs to be right in the center on that lavender line, and it is. Perfect. All right. All right, so we have our 4, what do they call that? Make 4, called the Far Out Flying Geese Unit. Next, well, we need to check the time. Oh, we got a lot of time. We got 10 minutes. Ow! Oh, excuse me. Just pinched my hand. It's okay, it's okay. I'm just a big crybaby. All right, so those guys are done. Those guys are done. Maybe we ought to size these to what they ought to be. They're supposed to be 3.5 by 3.5. Let's make sure they are. Oh, they're not. Good grief. Let's get a little square. There's our 3.5 by 3.5. Well, there's lines on it. You can line it up from, there's a center line right there. I'm going to put that on. That way a little tiny bit. No, it should be right on that line. Yeah, now that looks correct. Okay. I want to be too hairy with threads when I go today on my journeys. So those guys are done. Okay, so what's left to do is what they call the half square triangle unit that's going to be in the center of the block. So we've finished. Well, I can't show you, can I? I don't think I can show you. But anyway, we're going to work on, see, we've got the big ears done. We're going to make this thing in the middle now. And that's the last pieces. All right, so we're just going to make 4 half square triangles and put them together, I guess. Let's see here. Oh no, we have some additional little flowers to put in the middle of that. Okay. So what we're doing is we're putting them together face to face. We're going to draw a center line and then sew on either side of it. thus making 2 half square triangles out of each combination. And that doesn't fit. Perfect. Too big. Try that again. This fabric is so cute with those little birds on it. There. So 1/4 on either side of this. And then we're going to put these little guys on one corner, which will give us this look of a tiny square inside of a big square on the point. So that's what we're going to do. So let's turn you around. You can watch me sew. How exciting. Let's see. The presser foot should be perfect because I've measured it. Here we go. And this again. And take them out and do it again, going the other way. Always making sure that you have your 1/4 from the mark in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to bing, bingo bango those, and then we cut down the middle. See? And I cut down the purple line. Now be careful when you do this, because if you get a little crooked, you're going to wreck your stuff. All right, I'm going to go open these up and press them, come back and we'll shape them and then assemble the... Okay, so these are supposed to be 3.5 by 3.5. I think I've got a... Oh, they're too big. Well, they're pretty close. Let me see. I think I've got a 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. Yep, that's the right one. Look how big they are. Doggone them anyway. Well, you know that means that I did something wrong. 1, 2, 3.5. 3.5. All right, so my seams weren't big enough. So I'm gonna measure them using the line on the diagonal, which will help shape them correctly. Lovely. And it's always better to shape these before you put the next piece on, because otherwise it'll mess up the next piece. You see how I hold the ruler? I use at least 3 fingers to hold the edges. So I put one here and two on, and then the thumb over here. So I'm holding them so that they don't slide around and cause me to make the wrong cuts. So then I line it up again, get those 4 fingers in line. All right, so those 4 are done. Let's get those little white squares on. The little delicate rose butters. And they go on the green corner. They want a line on it? Yeah. Well, we can do that real quick here. I forgot to put a pin in this one. Again, the same 4 pins we have over here on the bed of the sewing machine. Making sure that the stitching line is in parallel with the half square portion. Alexa, if you're watching this, I miss you. All right, let's get those sewn up. Alexa's my daughter who encouraged me to start a YouTube channel. All right, we'll get those ironed up and be right back. Okay. You know what? It's time for me to go for doctor's appointments for my hubby. So this is the point at which we're going to take a break. And we've completed these 4. And the way they go together is, I think they go like that. And they make that little square. So we'll finish those up on segment number 2 and assemble all of our finished and sized creations. All right. That went fast, huh? I was having fun. I hope you were too. If I talk a little softer, maybe you can use me to go to sleep with. I know I put on different stories on YouTube and listen to stories. Then I can go to sleep. Okay, well, I'll see you later. Ta-dum-dum. Bye.